Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of control and why it is that as the integrity of the method begins to take hold, that what you'll find and what you'll see is you'll see a escalation of a dog beginning to assert higher levels of challenge at certain points during interactions, which are advocating relationship change. And this is a thing where it's very deceiving in terms of how things can appear and not be. So for example, I talk about why it is, okay, that the method is so important, the integrity of that method is so important that it holds together to both reveal and change. Okay, so through the application of the method, through how it comes together as a relational changing process, very specific interactions, okay, they're going to expose the cards, it offers revelation, okay. And so because it's all about within the parameters of what's reasonable, okay, how influences is intersecting the method. And so what it does is, again, it will expose the control issues. So, but at the same time, the thing that's very deceptive is this is what I talk about, when you open the process up, it could be like top of this whole thing with drive-based training, and then what you're doing is you're switching into this thing with looking at, response in a very superficial way and assuming, okay, that as the dog is again doing the sits, you're responding certain ways, that represents that good things are happening, and the majority of times it simply is not at all. So it's very deceptive. This is why the method the process has to take the right approach. The methodology is absolutely critical. Otherwise, you open yourself up to be deceived. Okay, and then of course you're doing something different because you're advocating training as a learning-based exercise, which it is not. Okay, and I really would encourage you to go into you can watch all my videos on this. But again, getting in this issue of challenge states start to increase at certain points along the way. And here's the thing that you'll see, especially with dogs that have a certain level of control already established in the relationship, especially some of these really high drive dogs, such as could be Mals or Shepherds, Pit Bulls. What you'll see is, as the person is beginning to advocate properly, they're beginning to really interact in a very specific way through the method, and so that the cards are being exposed. What you'll see is the dog will come into agreement, okay, at a certain level, but then there's like a spiking along the way. There'll be times where, man, that dog is really spiking up, because what happens is there's some dynamics in how the methodology is and what's happening at the relationship level, where there's like it's almost like Battleship, okay. There's like counter moves going on with the dog. So what happens is the dog, through having control, the dog is beginning to, knowing that things are starting to change, the dog will begin to overinvest, okay, because it's all about fulfillment. So you see the dog, trying to get trying to fixate, trying to get a glimpse in. Say, if you're in the great series of videos really to watch on this is the ones where I'm helping Lester and Captain being a very high drive German Shepherd. You'll see that. In fact, you'll see at the point of applying kinetic technique to get or really deal with this very entrenched state of mind at certain points along the way. So, because here's the thing, to the dog, control becomes like a drug. It becomes a big deal and very fulfilling to the dog. And the dog, that's where the relationship has been at. And so as the method's starting to take hold and the person's beginning to, cover off, and they're beginning to, the integrity of the method is starting to come together. And that's the thing about the developmental part of this too, is that, it's developmental in the sense of the person cannot change overnight in terms of developing the level of skill set, okay, with the integrity, through the integrity of the method to create, to really confront the relationship in a big way. And here's the thing, is typically you don't want certain advantages to not doing that anyway. So typically the owner, how that developmental process is working, has certain advantages. Okay, it really does keep the level of challenge down because it's more kind of leveled out. Whereas, say, engaging in a board and training process, it does create a higher level of challenge at the front end because I'm already thinking a certain way. Okay, I'm already the system, so I can do certain things to try to kind of mitigate that, to kind of level that down a little bit. But a lot of that I can't do it because there's certain, you are how you think. But getting back to this issue of levels of challenge, you'll see a spiking at times when the methods come together, and you're like, the owner's like, man, what's going on? The dog is really getting desperate, like really trying to counter and trying to like overinvest. And whereas it didn't seem like that was happening before. Well, here's the thing. It didn't have to happen before because the dog was in full control. And so the dog, in the person's mind, the dog looked somewhat, balanced. Even though through, again, certain interactions and certain how the dog's state of mind was going, there's truth revealed throughout. We're saying, man, the walk has turned into a nightmare. Everything looked okay as long as the dog is walking me, and then suddenly another dog comes out, and it's gonna bottom out anyway, in a big way. But getting, going further with the walk, say, for example, is I won't get out the front door before the dog is on its back because of what I'm advocating. The dog owner might get out the front door and down maybe a few houses down the street before it turns into a disaster. But here's the thing, is my walk is going to be fantastic in probably 2 weeks. Everything's going to line right up because of, again, about what's happening during the process. Okay, I'm advocating properly. The dog is going into a challenge state on me, but change is happening. Whereas the owner is advocating differently, and they're getting a little bit more distance, but only because the dog is in control. So really think about that. I mean, the dog is, you're getting further, but the relationship is totally flipped upside down. It's like a selfish child. You can maybe get further with a selfish child if you're advocating, letting the child kind of have their own way. The relationship is never going to get better. It just appears like you can kind of, get along better at times, but the relationship truly isn't getting better. Nothing's really being fixed. And that's the whole point of that, is to remember that it's all about, you have to go further than just appearances. It's all about understanding the depth of what's happening. So anyway, it's just something very interesting to think about. Thanks for watching.